Now picture yourself as a grain of salt. I know that's a terrible abstraction, but since the illustration is, let's move in the direction. You and I are grains of salt, and this is a great salt shaker here. All right? And here we are mulling around in nice, warm, snuggly fellowship, you know. Somebody at the seminary keeps describing it as warm fluffies. I don't know who it is, but every time he talks about the warm fluffies or whatever it is, you get the feeling. Here we are, grains of salt. I'm sorry, I don't look like one, but there is such a thing as seasoned salt too. And here we are in the salt shaker, you know, snuggling up, nice and cuddly and warm, and somebody turns around allegorically and says, "My, isn't it wonderful to be a grain of salt? Just look at these beautiful stained glass windows around the salt shaker, and look at the marvelous crystal dome that stands above us with ventilators for just the right type of ventilation in there. And as for all of these well-rounded fellow pieces of salt or crystals of salt, isn't it nice just to be able to snuggle up to each other and thoroughly enjoy just being a grain of salt? I'm so happy I'm a grain of salt." And there's always some morose person in every salt shaker. And one fellow turns around and says, "Hey, listen, buddy, before you get carried away with this strange streak of optimism you have within you, when you look out of this stained glass window, do you see that bowl of that container of soup boiling on the stove? Has it ever occurred to you that every time soup has cooked on the stove, somebody comes and picks up this salt shaker of ours and empties us out, and some of our brethren slide out of those ventilators and we've never seen them again? Has it ever occurred to you? Have you ever conceived in your mind what it must be like to get into a bowl of soup that's boiling and try to swim around those carrots and potatoes and turnips that just seem to be there devouring you till you cease to be? I'm not so sure I want to be a grain of salt. I'm just really not enjoying this fellowship all that much because I'm afraid somebody's going to pick this up and I'm going to be the next grain in that soup and I'm never going to come back here. There's a third fellow listening to all of this and he says, "Listen, gentlemen, I would like to solve this for you. It is true that it is wonderful to be in fellowship with other salt. It is also true that somebody's going to come and empty the salt shaker into that soup, and some of us are never going to return out of that. But I want to tell you something. When I get into that soup, it is true that the potatoes, carrots, and turnips are going to gobble us up. But let me tell you something. When I get into that soup will never taste the same again."